Welcome to the show Gold Squadron Gays. It's the podcast where two Star Wars loving gays talk about and review their favorite Star Wars content while also being gay as hell. I'm your host, Bradley Brower.
I'm your other host, Charles Rogers, and yes, I'm using the old microphone, and no, there's nothing I can do about it. My computer's having some sort of USB issue. We recorded for 15 minutes ahead of this, and we had to stop 4 times because the computer dropped the microphone. It's not a mic issue, it's a computer issue, but I just don't want to fuck with the new podcasting mic, so we're using the old mic. I apologize for my audio quality. If our metrics are to be believed, less of you are listening to this episode anyway.
Yeah, any bonus episode is
Any bonus episodes, we don't get as many listeners.
But this is a celebration episode. Everybody should be listening to this one.
Well, that's why I trotted out the classic microphone. It's not I panicked and used the old microphone. It's a vintage microphone.
This is a vintage.
It's like Dave Filoni showing the concept art at the Ahsoka panel.
Right, it's a throwback.
It's not
that we don't have anything. Right.
It's not that I don't have anything. It's a throwback to the old days of the podcast when my microphone was more shit. So yes, Bradley, you and I are both back and
back
recovered-ish. Both our sleep cycles are apparently still fucked.
Yeah, I'm getting better, but it is like I have to start waking up earlier. I just don't know. I mean, and I'm going to bed at normal time, so I don't know what I need to do to make it better, but we'll see. I mean, I've been taking melatonin.
You're not staying up till 1 a.m. watching a Japanese gay dating show on Netflix, which I did yesterday. I had nothing to do, so I was just curious, so I binge-watched The Boyfriend on Netflix. 7 out of 10.
Oh, I have way too many shows to watch to be doing all that, but...
See, I recently cleared my backlog.
Oh, no, now I have a backlog because of this trip.
Oh, really?
Oh,
what
yeah.
What did you add because of this trip?
Let's see. I can pull up my list. I literally didn't watch any 911 or Dr. Odyssey, so I missed that. I didn't watch any of the new Black Mirror, all my CBS shows, Daredevil, I never finished that. I never watched Saturday Night Live. Hacks came back. The Last of Us came back.
I did catch up on The Last of Us. It is really good this season.
And Survivor, Amazing Race. Like you know what I mean? Like I've been catching up. So, Drag Race. Like I haven't caught up on anything, and so like I was trying to catch up on everything. And then of course Andor dropped, and so I had to watch that as well. And it was just like, ugh.
Well, so here's the difference between you and I, clearly, is I don't watch these TV shows as they're airing. I binge watch them later.
Yeah,
I don't watch a TV show if it's airing unless I feel obligated to watch it. Like Doctor Who, I feel obligated to watch just to add my tiny little bit to that ratings number. But generally, I don't watch 911. Everybody tells me I should watch 911. I literally have a friend of mine who worked on 911.
Oh, wow.
But haven't watched 911 because I'm like, I'll just watch it later. And that's how I end up watching all 10 episodes of The Boyfriend in a single day. Because I'm just like, whatever, I'm home. I have nothing to do. That was why I was up until 1 a.m. yesterday, and that also is probably not helping my sleep cycle. Hey, Bradley, do you want to talk about, I don't know how to segue off of TV into, you want to find out about some TV? I can't even say some TV we found out about, because, well, there was some TV we found out about.
Some TV, yeah. Well, we'll go through all of it.
You found out about that I wasn't in the room for.
There you go. We'll probably do it in order just to keep everybody's sanity, but we'll go down the list. So I made a whole list of all the stuff we're going to talk about because there was quite a bit of stuff they announced at Celebration, stuff that we didn't know about. And then, I mean, there was some stuff that we didn't know about it. Well, there was stuff that we obviously...
I follow leakers and reputable scoopers. People whose track records are proven and who I can trust to provide this information in a non-spoilery and also are pretty good at this way. So I kind of knew some of these were coming.
Well, I will say I'll put a spoiler tag here, I guess, if you care. If you haven't been online recently, I'm sure all this has been announced online. And
what, spoilers for Star Wars?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just putting a spoiler here just in case. If you genuinely don't want to know, then don't listen to this episode. But like, I'm sorry if I spoil anything. Well, I'm going to say what happens and everything.
When I say spoiler, spoilers not for the, okay, I get what you're trying to say. Spoilers not for the announcements themselves, but for the things they showed in the panel. If
Yes,
you
that are
genuinely don't want to
only
know what
right.
was in the Celebration exclusives,
Correct.
this may not be the episode for you.
Right. Spoilers for what actually was shown, and then like I'll just describe it to the best of my ability, right? Like I'm not gonna be able to remember everything, but for the most
You
part, I
can
did take
fucking watch
notes.
all
Yeah.
this on Reddit anyway.
Right. I'm sure somebody could look up leaks somewhere and if they
The
really
amount
care,
of
but
people who sent me Maul Shadow Lord trailer.
that was the one that they wouldn't let you film in and all that stuff, and then it was like, oh, just kidding,
Yep.
they're playing it again, and it was like, okay. But I will say one thing real quick is I noticed a lot more of this when I was there is the handheld GoPro thing. Is very
Mhm.
popular with vloggers or whatever. That I noticed a lot of people use, and it was very hard for the attendants to see them with it because it's very skinny and it's very hard. Like it's very easy to hide it as something else. Like I don't know, when you're holding your phone up, it's a little bit more obvious, but like
Yeah.
something about holding that thing, it's like a stick. I don't know. It was just so much like or you could have held it really close to your body and nobody would have ever known. Like, I don't know. It was not that I'm
It
condoning
it
that behavior. I'm just
frustrates
saying.
me.
Yeah.
It frustrates me to no end that Lucasfilm insists upon not releasing these things, 24 hours later. I get it's special for people in the room. Release it 24 hours later. It's
Right.
been leaked.
Yeah, I
You
don't know why
know
you'd
it's
want
been
the
leaked.
the crappy version online
Yeah.
when you could have the really nice HD
And
version that
then
you get social media views from.
Well, then they're all like, we'll use Maul Shadow Lord as an example. Watch, fucking a year from now, they're gonna make a big deal about, oh, there's a Maul Shadow Lord teaser that's dropped. It's gonna be the same fucking teaser they
It's
showed.
going to be the exact
It's gonna
same
be
one.
the
They're not going
exact
to change
same one.
anything. They don't
They're
care.
gonna release it a year later,
Yep, it'll be
and
next year.
Lucasfilm's gonna be like, see, there's this new teaser, and it's like, no, because we already saw that.
I'm gonna watch it
We
next
saw
year and I'm
that
gonna be like, that's the exact same one.
we saw that leaked versions of that on a
Yeah.
shitty GoPro camera from
Hmm.
Celebration. Like, calm the fuck down. It's eternally frustrating to me. Bradley, it was your first time ever attending a celebration.
It
I went to
was.
Anaheim in 2022.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that, well, I like how I made my first one the global one. Like I was like,
Yep.
okay, let me pick the hardest one to get to and just make it
I think I made a
it was
comment to
crazy.
you about you like raw dogging Celebration
I just did it,
on the way out on Sunday afternoon. I
I
made
just
some
went
comment
it
to you
for it.
about doing like the hardest version because you have to, if you've never been to Celebration, guys, it's like an experience
Yeah.
that you have to acclimate to. Like it's a whole different world within the confines of the convention. It's a
Yeah.
world that does not obey the laws of physics because Reed Pop sucks. And you have to throw out everything you know about common sense or things making any logical sense whatsoever to be able to understand how Reed Pop does this particular convention. Now, I know they do other conventions that are well received. I know Emerald City Comic Con and I know PAX East and West. For whatever reason, Reed Pop and Star Wars Celebration, what are y'all smoking?
I don't know, dude. They were wild. They were wild now the whole time. I was like, this is crazy that this isn't more put together. Like, I understood that like it was in a foreign country and you have a lot of volunteers who probably don't speak very well English. Like, and it's like that's just the nature of the beast. But I also like there's gotta be like somebody in charge that knows what they're doing. And I just felt like that wasn't the case.
It
Like,
it felt
you know?
like they had no real idea of what mobility through the convention center was going to be like.
And I would have thought that like that big of a convention center, because it was big. Like I'm not
It was
gonna
a
lie, like
huge convention center.
huge convention center felt like it was packed to hell. Like there was no way to move around there. Like, and I was like, that's weird. You would have thought that like, oh, they gave, I don't know, 20 feet of clearance for like people to walk through, but then like they needed 40. You know what I mean? Like it's I don't know. Maybe it's just a matter of like they just didn't quite realize the scale that of people that were going to come to this thing. And I thought like because from what I could tell on the Discord and stuff that people lots of people tried to sell their tickets, they couldn't make it. Like I thought nobody was going to come, and that just wasn't the case. Like there was a lot of people. Like it was just a
It was
ton of people.
packed.
Yeah.
Yeah, was that surprising to you that there was so many, like in general, even so many
Uh-huh.
people coming to this convention? Because
Well, I knew like
I
yeah,
think it was a surprise to my boyfriend who
no,
was
I
with
mean
us, by the
I
way,
knew
that
people like I knew we would have the diehards, right? The diehard people are going to go anyway, regardless. There's not going to be, I didn't think like families would end up going because that's hard. You know what I mean? It's hard to get your family to go all the way to Japan and like whatever. So I thought that was going to be a lot less, which all the families I saw were foreign. So that was really, I was like, okay, if you guys want to bring kids to this thing, like that's on you, like whatever. But and then the locals, there was lots of locals, which I was appreciative of because like I figured if somebody's going to show up, it's going to be the local population. But so there's a lot of that, a
oh,
lot of the
Japan loves Star
cosplayers.
Wars.
Yeah, a lot of the cosplayers were Japanese people, and I was very surprised because I we did not see a lot of travelers with cosplay because obviously it's expensive, and I
You
get
have
it.
to
You know what I
lug
mean?
it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
expensive. You have to lug it. My boyfriend, in his infinite observational skills, which he does have, this is not a sarcastic thing. He made a really good observation on the first day. He loves cosplay. Like, he loves watching
yeah,
cosplayers. And he made the observation on day one that he was really upset there weren't more. He was like,
right.
this is really disappointing because when I come to Star Wars Celebration, I like to see the insane cosplay shit people do. And that was on Friday. Saturday we went. And Friday, like the Japanese attendees were still at school slash work.
Right.
So taking time off work to go to a Star Wars convention, not really a thing.
Understandable.
Like, but Saturday and Sunday, the cosplayers turned out.
Yeah, I was gonna say there weren't a lot on the first day, but
There weren't a lot on the first
at the
day
end of
because
the
they were
week,
all
yeah,
still at work, but
right.
they turned out on days two
Hmm.
and three. And it was a lot of the stormtroopers and stuff we saw walking around were Japanese congoers because they were more local and they didn't want to lug their stuff all the way across the ocean.
I took a picture with what was it? I think I took a picture with Merrick and I took a picture with Hu Yang. They were both Japanese people. They were really nice. It was just like but the costumes were so elaborate and like
Hmm.
bulky, and I was like, oh, okay, I get it. Like, you can only do this one day. You can't do this every single day.
We all looked a hot mess by the end of that convention. I did want to ask before we get too much into like the panels and reveal stuff, the most important thing for you at Star Wars Celebration seemed to be the swag.
Swag was very
Did you
important.
get your swag?
I
He
got
said,
some.
knowing the answer.
Well, again, it was such a shit show.
Hello,
Uh,
LineCon!
Oh my God. Like I have my main story is just for Ahsoka Day 2, which was,
Actually, do you want to wait and tell this when we get to day two of Ahsoka?
you know what? Yeah, we can wait. I'll hold off my
Okay.
story for, okay, you're right. You're right. You're right. I'll hold on. Okay. Well, then I'll tell my other random story, which
Tell
was,
your other random story now, and then you'll
right.
tell. Then
So
we'll tell
I
the.
did eventually get into the Hot Toys line and get into the Hot Toys booth, which was the largest booth at the convention and the longest line. Like
Oh, it was insane.
I thought the line for Frozen was bad at Disney Sea, which was 200 minutes, by the way. But thank God we got fast passes because I was not about to wait in that line after doing LineCon. I was like, I told my friend, I was like, once we got to Disney, that a day after the con or whatever, 2 days after the con, I was like, I'm not waiting in any more lines. I was like, we're going to buy every fast pass for all these rides because I was like, I'm not waiting in lines anymore. I stayed in line. I'll get into the details, but I stayed in line for the Celebration store for 5 hours.
Oh yeah, we'll get into all of
I cannot.
that.
So anyway, but I did get into Hot Toys. I got a couple things. I got a really cute Neil bobblehead. Got a little Loth Cat stuffed animal so that I could have, my Loth Cat. And then I got some Ewok bag charms and some bobbleheads and stuff. So I feel like I did a good job. I got like one t-shirt for my friend. I got a t-shirt for myself, but I had no time to shop.
You were able to grab a plushie for my boyfriend, which
I
was
did. I
very
did get that.
appreciative and mollifying him that first day when he was so
Right.
disappointed by the lack of cosplayers. We had to shove a stuffed Ewok at him and go, "Here you go,
Right. Here you
honey.
go.
Here you go.
Shut up. Enjoy the con.
Stop your whining."
Right.
Side note, in case anyone was wondering, two Lego sets so that I could get the four posters. I did not get one of the Lego sets I wanted because in between me getting in line and getting to the front of the line, they sold out of it. So I got one of the sets that I wanted.
Damn.
The other one I had to make do with the set that was a little bigger than I was expecting. And some conversations were had about the amount of luggage space that was required to get my Legos back. But I do have both of those Legos. And if you follow my personal accounts on social media at CW Rogers 6, I promise to post them probably around when this episode comes out. I will post photos of my celebration haul. I need to get all the posters that Bradley was kind enough to grab a poster for me
I know
out of the
that was already
celebration.
hard enough too, because there was
That was
like
a
none
pain.
left.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
let's get into the panel. Let's get into the days. We decided we were going to break this up by day.
Break
So,
it up by day and then
Bradley,
break it up by panel. So
take us through day one.
starting off day one, they didn't have a opening ceremony. So this was a little jarring because it basically the opening ceremony was the Mando and Grogu panel. However, they started it off not a Mando and Grogu panel. They decided to start it off as the Sean Levy's movie panel. So, surprise, that's what we started with. It was
In previous years, the first panel was the studio showcase. And
okay, that
so it
makes
was very
sense.
weird to us all that they were not doing a studio showcase where they would show kind of everything. They would
Right.
talk a little bit about, like, when I was there in Anaheim, they talked a little bit about Obi-Wan Kenobi. They talked a little bit about Willow. They talked a little bit
Got
about
it.
Indiana Jones. They talked a little bit about Andor. They talked a little bit about Ahsoka. So, and Mandalorian season 3. This time they advertised this as a Mando and Grogu panel. So when I
Right.
didn't get it, I was
You're
like,
like,
okay.
whatever. Yeah.
I was like, okay, whatever. It's Mando and Grogu. I'll send Bradley to watch the trailer and I'll go do something else. And no, Bradley, please tell us about Star Wars Starfighter.
So it was really interesting. They brought Kathleen out and she was like, yeah, you know, all the movies that are going to be coming up. And she mentioned Taika. She mentioned, you know, Dave's movie, New Jedi Order, James Mangold. She like kept dropping these nuggets of names that everybody's been talking about for like, you know, the past couple months. And we know nothing. They're all in development hell, right? Like everything's in development hell. And it was like, until they start production, none of these exist. So we don't need to talk about them, honestly, like
One
until
thing,
they mean anything.
yeah, one thing I will say for Kennedy is she's very, very good at subtly getting ahead of a story.
Right.
Like, there's only been one time in recent memory she has had to directly come out and like contradict a news story, which was a couple of months ago when that news story came out that she was going to retire. And she came out to clarify that, I mean, yeah, probably, but she's not going anywhere. She's just going to step down as the big person in charge of Lucasfilm.
Right.
And there's been a lot of stories that have been buzzing around about like, what's the status of the Rey movie? Is Taika's movie even still happening? Like, because it's been so long. So, like, I think it's pretty clear that she was dropping the names of stuff that they're still actively pursuing.
Right.
It seems like they've dropped Rogue Squadron.
I think
Seems like
so.
that's
She
just
didn't
not
mention
gonna
it.
happen.
Now, to be fair, she could have forgot. Like, I mean, she wasn't going to sit there and list every single thing in production, right? But I think the stuff that is in the front of her brain is the stuff or like that she mentioned is the stuff that has a decent chance of actually being made
Right.
because she's probably been to a recent meeting about it, or B, it's just something that sticks out in her mind. I could tell like from the list of the things she said, like, I don't think that's real. I think right now the definite things that are in the front of her mind are this movie that she for
Well, they're
sure
also the
announced, but
movies. They're also the movies that clearly are meant to be coming out starting in
right,
2026. That spoilers for where this is going. Starfighter's coming out in 2027.
right,
So it starts filming in the fall.
correct.
So it's very clear that like the movies she's mentioning up front are the ones that are closest because New Jedi Order needs a little bit more work
Right.
before they can get it, but it's clearly still happening. Like
Yeah, that was the one I
there's
was
people that are
most confident about
working
out
on
of
it.
the list because she was like, yeah, they're just still writing it. Like it's definitely happening. It's just they're finalizing scripts, right? That's kind of like more where they are in that one. And then Taika is
They had one
theoretically
writer.
writing, but I don't know.
They had one writer. They brought in another writer. This
Right.
is normal.
Yeah,
This
they're
is
gonna
not a
keep
news
doing that
story.
forever. Yeah.
That happens. I get to trot out I literally have a degree in this specific thing.
Yeah.
This is normal for a movie. This is extremely normal for a movie. It is not a sign of production problems. It is a thing that happens. The screenwriter on a movie, 9 times out of 10, is not the person who's spearheading like the story for the movie. Screenwriters are hired to write a story that is provided to them, and they can help shape it and craft it. But it's not like when I go to write like the Beach House Studios books, right? Or I go to write some of the other new projects that I'm starting working on. When I go into that, I have complete control over everything because I'm writing those for me. When you go in to write a screenplay for a studio, especially a major studio like Disney, no, that's not the case. It's much more of a collaborative process, and it's also like you're not the main person on that.
Right, right, right.
Like it's not like the original screenwriter Stephen Knight was writing the whole story with Daisy Ridley, and then they were going to hand that off to the director, and that was just the script that she had to work with. No, 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 that's not how it works. So it is perfectly normal to have one screenwriter, and then you get things in a good place, and then they kind of step away, especially if it's such a long project.
Yeah.
They step away and you bring in another writer to kind of do a fresh pass at it and sort of maybe fill in some gaps where the previous screenwriter. That's a perfectly normal thing, especially with big IP like this. So I'm also not too worried about the Rey movie. I think that one is almost certainly going to see the light of day, especially given how, and I know people on the internet are going to be fucking mad about this, but it's true and you people need to hear it. Rey is a very popular character amongst kids, especially. She is very popular amongst
Yeah, I
kids.
saw at least three little girls as Ray at the convention.
Rey
So,
merch sells.
yeah.
She
So,
is a popular character. Of course, they're going to make the movie that is about her. Sorry, I keep tangenting us from
I know, we
Starfighter.
got to keep going. Okay. So, they brought out Sean Levy. He's like, I'm doing my movie, whatever. It exists, I promise. And then he announced the title, which is Star Wars Starfighter. And then he's like, also, there's another rumor that Ryan Gosling is in my movie. I just want to confirm and just dispel all the rumors that it's absolutely true. And he's the star. And so they brought him out. And then Ryan Gosling gave his little smirk and he was like, yeah, I love Star Wars since I was a kid. It's great. Da, da, da. And then they were like, of course. So from what I can tell, this is going to be, I don't think it'll be like meant to be a comedy, but I think it's going to be a comedy in the way that, like, you know, how there's always a comedic, you know, snarky pilot who has to say stuff all the time. You know what I mean? Like we're getting the Solo vibes. We're getting the Oscar Isaac, you know, very much like
How much money do you think they're going to pay him to show up in this movie? Because you know he's going to fucking be in this movie.
Oscar Isaac.
Oscar Isaac.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say how much is Ryan Gosling getting paid for this movie? I was like, I
Oh,
don't know, 20 mil? Like,
probably
like yeah,
several million
like, yeah,
dollars
like
to
yeah,
get to in this movie
just for yeah, just to be in it.
just to be in this
Oscar could be
movie.
in it. So they did say when it takes place in the timeline, and it does take place after Rise of Skywalker. So,
Hmm.
but he did say that it was going to be all new people in the movie. Now, that doesn't mean that old people can't show up, but he did say it's all new characters, all new situation, all new everything. So, I mean, is it likely Oscar will show up? Maybe, but I think they're really trying to, with these pun intended, these solo movies, that they are trying to kind of be their own thing. And I guess that's kind of like, you know, Skeleton Crew is the blueprint for that. Like it's kind of like it's set in Star Wars, but it's its own thing, right? We don't really have too many references. There's not like so much connection to everything. So I'm excited. I think it'll be interesting. I think it's going to be in the same vein of Skeleton Crew as like, I'm not asking for it. I'm not gonna care about it until it happens. And then when it happens, hopefully I'll be pleasantly surprised that it's one of my favorites. You know what I mean?
Star Wars has had this long tradition of pilot stories,
Right.
dating all the way back to A New Hope. You know, that Luke is a pilot, primarily in that movie. He doesn't really become a Jedi start becoming a Jedi until Empire Strikes Back. About halfway through Empire Strikes Back.
Right.
He's a pilot for the first half of Empire Strikes Back as his primary thing. So they've had this long tradition with pilot stories. You know, we've got the Rogue Squadron video games, we've got the X-Wing books as Essential Legends Collection books.
Mm.
But they have this long tradition of doing pilot stories. Aaron Alston, rest in peace, wrote a whole lot of them. And this is just a classic Star Wars thing. And yeah, I'm in the same vein as you, as like, I didn't ask for this. I don't want this. But I can be pleasantly surprised by this. I'm excited to see where this goes. I'm cautiously look, it's Star Wars. You could hit me with a Star Wars branded truck and I would probably thank you for it.
Yeah, I'm like, and also it's Ryan Gosling. It's probably not gonna be, you know, the worst thing in the world, right?
There
It's
will be
like
something pretty to look at on the screen at least.
that's what I'm saying. If we get him in a vest with no shirt on, I'll be like, okay, you got me. Like,
I'll be good. I'll be good.
sorry,
I'll be
I'll
good.
watch it.
Look, they for the last 5 films, right? They have managed to put at least one hot man
That's right.
in the movie.
Absel.
Sometimes
So
multiple hot men in the movies.
let's do
So
it.
they know how to get me in the theater.
Right.
It's by casting hot men.
If Sean
And
wants
then
to
they
make some money on this, he's gonna make sure Ryan's character has a shirtless scene.
Speaking of shirtless scenes, Bradley, then you got more information about the Mandalorian and Grogu.
Yeah, the reason we actually went to the panel, Mandalorian and Grogu, actual panel. They did show a teaser trailer for the movie, which was very exciting. This is definitely meant to be seen in theaters, I will say. This is going to be a really great adventure. The trailer kind of showed us. I wrote down a couple things that happened in the trailer just that stood out to me. The main
By the
thing
way,
in the
Bradley
trailer.
was texting me furiously while
Oh yeah,
all of
as
this is happening.
I was trying to remember everything.
Every panel he's in, this is how he remembers stuff is he texts me. Every time you hear that Bradley was in a panel and I was not, just know he was messaging me the whole time. Please continue.
So the trailer, for the most part, is Mando is sneaking aboard an Imperial Walker, and basically he's in there and he kills all the snow troopers inside. So it's like this kind of like he sneaks in, he kills everybody, blows it up, and escapes, right?
I think we saw
And
some footage of this at D23.
maybe. I don't know. I don't know if I remember that footage, but
A
it was
little bit.
it was basically the whole scene, right? Like, so they showed a pretty good chunk of it. And then he gets in there, he blows it up, he escapes. There's also, I wrote a bunch of other things. Oh, there's a part where him and Grogu are escaping from an AT walker in a chicken walker. Like they're in one and it's like running away from the bigger one. There's also Grogu facing down a mouse droid. So he comes in face to face with a mouse droid and he basically uses the force to explode it. So like he kind of like blows it up basically. That was pretty funny. Then they introduced Sigourney Weaver. She showed up in the trailer obviously, but then they kind of like gave her a little bit of her character too. So she's kind of like this New Republic pilot in charge, I want to say. I don't know the insignia like standards or whatever,
I
but
believe
she
they showed a photo of her in the Rebel
okay.
outfit,
So
and
maybe I'll have to look that up and see what she
some
is. Yeah.
some military tech Star Wars nerd
Right. Somebody will know what she
is
is,
going to
but
be able to tell you. I am not a military tech Star Wars
right.
nerd.
Well, anyway, so she's in there. She's giving Mando and Grogu like their assignment or whatever, right? And then she's talking about him blowing up the AT Walker, and she's like, "Oh, that was really messy. You guys didn't do a very clean job or whatever." And then like Grogu goes to like steal her snacks, and then she's like pulls it back as he's like trying to use the Force to get it, and she's like not putting up with his shit, basically. Really funny. There's a very Top Gun like scene where Mando and Grogu are walking down the tarmac of like like the ships and stuff, and then Zeb is walking with them. So definitely, obviously, Zeb is back here, which is great.
I have been informed by Zeb experts that he is
Uh-huh.
the wrong height.
I don't agree.
I have been informed by
I
experts
need to look up the
that he
picture
is
again.
the wrong height.
I don't think I agree because he looked like 2 feet taller than Mando. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Experts have told me.
okay, whatever. People are
Experts
whiny.
have told me that he is the wrong height.
I didn't notice it until you told me later. And so
That's my
you know
job,
what? People are
Bradley.
crazy.
That's my job, is to ruin
Anyway,
Star Wars for you by being pedantic for 3 years on a podcast.
I love that he's here. It's great. Welcome back, Zeb. Now, the thing that you are dying to know, which is the part of the trailer that I thought was the most awe-shocking that I totally forgot about, and then I was like, oh yeah, that's right. That character's in the thing.
That happened.
They do a gladiator arena scene where Grogu and Mando are watching a fight happen, and we do get a quick shot of the new Hut character. And yes, he does have abs.
He's not a new Hut character. We have
Well,
seen him before.
we technically we don't know if that's confirmed to be him or not. It's just a Hut character we've seen. They don't say his name and they don't whatever. So technically I don't know if it's him yet.
Yes, Huts with abs
Yes.
originated in the Star Wars comics. And as far as I know, they originated in the comics.
Right.
And so we're getting one on screen.
Right. Supposedly this is Stinky. I don't know for a fact because again, they don't say his name, but probably.
Probably.
Or what's his
Look,
real name? It's not Stinky. What?
it's Rada the Hutt.
Rada. That's right. Okay. So it's
I
probably
know
Rada.
this.
It makes sense.
I've been on my journey to listen to Legends books that I either haven't listened to in a really long time or never listened to.
Right.
And I don't know if I told you this, Bradley, but do you remember back at our Mando season 3 coverage with Wyatt from First Steps, the Star Wars podcast, whereupon he got to be the one to inform me who wrote the Clone Wars novelization?
Yes.
Okay, I've read that book now.
Okay.
It's fucking bad, Bradley. What did
Oh,
you
okay. I thought you were
expect
gonna
me
say
to
your life got
say?
improved or something like. Okay, great.
My life got
Um,
improved when that book ended.
okay, good.
When I
That's what I thought you were
stopped
gonna say.
listening to it, no, we don't have time for me to go on that rant.
No.
I recently read that book. It was awful. Don't read it. Also, No Prisoners by the same author, somehow worse. Don't read it.
So,
Instead, you should watch The Mandalorian and Grogu, in which the character of Ratha the Hutt will appear,
right.
voiced by Jeremy Allen White.
I'm excited for this movie, and I wasn't before because I thought, oh, why? I thought 1 through 3 seasons was fine. We didn't need anything else. The movie is interesting. I kind of think it's actually a clever way to continue using the Grogu character to sell toys. Like, if you just keep making movies with him, right? Like, they can go on these solo adventures and things, and it doesn't have to necessarily impact the broader story. It's smart. I get it. The only thing that I took away from this panel that kind of pissed me off is they brought up season 4.
Yeah, they've talked about maybe doing a fourth season.
And I don't like that because it's going to make viewing now, well, it's what it's going to do is it's technically going to make this movie like you have to watch the movie in between 3 and 4.
Oh, that's why they're doing it.
I know. It's just, but it's annoying as a viewer to rewatch stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you have to go, oh, now I got to watch this 2 hour movie in between seasons. Like, I can't just go from one season to the next season. Like, I'm going to be missing all this information. And, like,
Well, that was supposed to be how Book of Boba Fett was.
yeah,
And Rangers of the New Republic, like, it feels like they're readjusting the whole we're gonna do stuff in between the seasons plan.
right,
Because that was the original thing, was that they would just marathon through, but it got confusing for viewers.
right.
And I think they're hoping that, no, Mandalorian and Grogu is Mando and Grogu on a solo adventure to sell toys. And then we'll
Exactly.
come back to the main heir to the Empire plot for the next season. I feel like that's where they're going with this.
I think so because the timeline is going to get funny because I don't know when this movie is supposed to take place because when we'll get more into Ahsoka on day 2, but during that panel, he talked about how he was still writing the episodes for Ahsoka, and he has not even touched the movie yet. So the Heir to the Empire movie is not even a thing right now. He has not touched it. Now he
He's
probably has an
working on
idea
Ahsoka
of what
season
he
two.
wants to do, but like we know obviously that movie comes after Ahsoka season 2, but now I'm wondering like where it all fits in because Grogu's going to come out before Ahsoka 2 drops. So it theoretically is taking place during Ahsoka 1, assuming like it's
It's around
concurrently.
that
Right.
time because in Ahsoka 1 they mention the reconquest of Mandalore in the past tense, like it already happened.
Right, right, right.
My important thing about the Mando and Grogu movie, and then we'll move on to the animation panel, was the budget
Yeah,
for the movie. This is a cheap ass movie.
I noticed.
And that's the thing about Dave Filoni. People whine and complain about Dave Filoni all day long. They whine and whine and whine and whine about how much stuff he gets to make. One, he's a chief officer, creative
Right.
officer. He has
Sure.
clearly demonstrated he will support other people. It is not just the Dave Filoni show. He has clearly demonstrated he has worked with the other
Right.
departments. A lot of his job is not doing that. But one thing that I never see people bring up, and is important to always bring up when you're considering how is Dave Filoni able to basically make whatever he wants? Well, number two, it's because he's George Lucas's protege.
Money.
That's
But
number
yes.
three.
Yeah, yeah.
Dave Filoni will turn in a project on or under budget.
Exactly.
Every single time, without fail.
And that's what
Will
Disney
the
cares about.
wigs look cheap as fuck at points? Yes.
Sure.
That's a sacrifice you make. And Dave has clearly
Right.
demonstrated over and over again that his ethos is tell a good story, make it fun. If we have to cut some corners, we have to cut some corners.
Right.
But we're just going to deal with it because the important thing is we're going to turn this in under budget. That's how he keeps being able to do this. He will turn in something under budget, and the merch sales and the money it makes will be good enough to justify the amount of budget he gets on.
I
Dave
think, yeah,
Filoni,
that's
as
good.
it turns out, and Jon Favreau, I will say this for Jon Favreau too, are really budget conscious directors and writers. They understand that Star Wars is not like any franchise, is not like a perpetual money machine.
Right.
Yes, it is, but on the creative side, you can't treat it that way. If you turn in these multi-billion-dollar movies and one of them flops, you're in trouble.
Right.
Like, so this is something with him that I When that budget came out, it made me feel a lot better about this movie. It made me go, oh, this is just John and Dave are doing something fun.
No, for sure.
Let's talk about the other panel you went to.
That's right.
That
I went to an
uh,
animation panel.
I went to the Mon Mothma panel that Ash put on, and it was
Yes.
wonderful. And didn't look at my phone when I was in there. And when I pulled my phone out,
Did I blow up your phone?
one of the first things that came up was Bradley's like 30 messages that
Maybe,
he sent me from
yeah,
this
I think I
panel.
sent you like a million at a time.
Okay, tell us about the animation panel.
Okay, so this is kind of in two parts. So the first bit was them patting themselves on the back for 20 years of Lucasfilm animation, right? Clone Wars, they talked about a lot of Clone Wars, they talked about a lot of other things of that nature, right? And so they were just basically saying, "Oh yeah, it was so much fun. The evolution of the animation from Clone Wars to Rebels to Bad Batch, we've just been doing all this stuff and then now with the Tales stuff." And so they were like, "We're so great. We love ourselves. Animation's amazing." They're like, "Well, up next is Tales of the Underworld. Would you guys like to watch the first episode?" And we called this, right? Like we said that
We knew. We
this
been
is
fucking knew.
exactly what this
This
is
is
going
what
to
they
be.
did with Tales of the Jedi.
Right.
They literally showed the first episode of Tales of the Jedi at the animation panel in Celebration in Anaheim.
Right. And it makes sense. It's the most completed thing.
It's
It's
15 minutes.
right. And it was honestly, and I'm not going to get into like the details of this one too much because we're obviously going to cover it at some point, so I don't want to like go
Also,
too
this is
hard.
the thing Bradley didn't text me about. He did not say a word about Tales of the Underworld except for
Right.
one thing
Right.
that was in it.
It was so good that I was like, why isn't this a full length movie? I'm so excited for this Tales of the Underworld. You have no idea. Just being like the first episode, just being the Ventress story is just so fucking good. And yes, we find out how she comes back. Everybody can stop crying. Like, just watch the first episode of Tales of the Underworld. Like, they explain it, and it's exactly as simple as we thought. Okay, so just relax. It was so great, and seeing it and seeing like the first episode, what's really funny in the first episode, I will say, they did mention the path in the first episode. Like the new character, he mentions the path and he's like, "I'm looking for the path." Da 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 da. Like, and I was like, "Huh, that's funny," because we thought that might have been the next animated show was quote unquote the path, right? And I was like, that's interesting that they're mentioning it in the thing. So I don't think the path is dead, but it's definitely like
It's
gonna keep
definitely
being
not the
mentioned.
next animated show.
No, but it's gonna be, if they keep bringing it up, it's gonna be interesting, that's for sure. But anyway, the first episode was amazing. I can't wait for the other two episodes. I'm actually kind of mad that the whole show is not about this because like I would genuinely watch the entire fucking show. Like it was that good of a first episode. Like it almost seemed like it was a pilot for a Ventress show. And I was like, God damn, I want more of this. Like it's the thing that you would show me if I was an executive and you showed me this and been like, hey, this is the show we want to make. I'd be like, great, give me four more. Like I loved it so much. It was fantastic. At the very end, they were like, okay, that's all. We don't have anything else, I promise. And then Dave was like trying to be like cheeky. And they were like, well, there has to be something else. Like, what else is coming? Like, you always have to do another animated show. And he's like, yeah, he's like, I guess I could show you something. And then he brought out his partner. I forget her name, works on all the shows. She's like
Is it
his
Carrie Beck?
Carrie Beck. Yeah, sorry. I couldn't remember her name. So he had her out during the panel as well. And he was like, so why don't you talk about the new show? And she's like, well, I don't really want to talk about it as much as like, why don't I just show you guys what we're doing? And then everybody's like, ooh, okay. And so they played a full trailer. This was not a teaser. This was a full trailer for this show. It's called Maul Shadow Lord, and hot damn, this is gonna be a good
Hot
show.
damn.
This show, when I tell you the things that were in this trailer, everybody was like shocked and awed the whole time. I wrote down a few things. So there
Okay.
was the
Give us
character.
the scoop.
Here, I'll give you some of I'll go in order of like not as interesting to as more interesting. So we got like I don't have like the full breakdown of how the trailer like broke down, but I do have some things that stood out to me. Was first of all, the show is about Maul. I don't know if that's clear or not, but it's called Maul Shadow Lord. It's a full-on show about him. It clearly takes place before or in between Clone Wars and Rebels at some point, or like
Solo.
before. or yeah, it's before Solo for sure.
It's
I
before
don't
Solo. So, by the way, Kira probably not going to be in the
probably
first
not going to be in.
season of this show.
Right.
Let's temper some expectations. Kira is not even off Corellia
Yeah,
at
yeah,
this
yeah. No,
point.
no, no.
She's nowhere near
This
this.
seems to be all pre
Play Star Wars Outlaws if you want to see her
right.
again. She
Yeah,
will she will show up in Star Wars Outlaws. She will probably not be in the first season of this show.
yeah, this is all pre Crimson Dawn. I think he's setting up Crimson Dawn. I believe that's like what this kind of might be about, but or like very early version because the plot is kind of more so he gets his own apprentice and he's training this
Right.
girl. She is a Twi'lek girl. I say she's pink. Internet says she's red. I think they're just saying that because the lightsaber light on her face made her more red. I think she's more pink than she is red, but I don't know. Maybe I don't know the skin color very well of Twi'leks, but when I was writing my notes down, I wrote pink. So in the trailer, to me, it looked like that way. But then now all we have is like shitty screenshots of the trailer, so I don't really know what's true anymore. I think people are Mandela affecting me into thinking she's red only because they are basing it off the fact that she looks vaguely, I mean, because she's the same species of a legacy character.
Yeah,
And
let's talk
so,
about Darth Talon for a second here. So,
okay,
Darth Talon, it's interesting you should use the word legacy to
okay.
describe this character because Darth Talon originally appears in a comics run called Star Wars Legacy.
Oh,
That takes
interesting.
place like 100 years after, they're like 100 years or something after the movies.
Sure.
And it's the galaxy has become an empire again. It's a whole thing. There's a resurgent Sith, yada, yada, yada. But it is a very popular series, and it follows one of Luke Skywalker's descendants named Cade Skywalker. And one of the Sith in the series is named Darth Talon. Now, this is an audio medium, so I have to just ask my audience to Google this and ask Bradley to Google this. Darth Talon was a very popular character, and I just need you to Google her.
Oh, I did.
And you will see why she was a
I know
very
why she was
popular
popular.
character. Uh-huh.
Because men are disgusting. And that's why she's
Yes.
popular.
Yes. But you know who is a man who is disgusting?
Who?
George Lucas.
Well, there you go.
Because the
So,
story goes, and I do not know if this was confirmed or I do not know. I didn't fact check this before we started recording, and I really should have. So the story goes that when Lucas was coming up with ideas for his potential sequel trilogy, one of the ideas he kicked around was bringing Maul back. And he was apparently walking around through the Lucas vaults, and there was a bust of Darth Talon,
okay.
like a sculpture of her. And George Lucas was like, oh, we could have her be Maul's apprentice. And so that was one of the original ideas for the sequel trilogy that he was
Got it.
kicking around, was to bring Maul back and then introduce Darth Talon and have her be Maul's apprentice. And so there is precedent for
Right.
this to be Talon.
Right. Just a new version of her, right?
Just a
Or
new
something.
version of her.
Okay.
Which would make one of the most stark bringing over of a character from Legends to canon since Thrawn.
Right.
Because
I
Thrawn
mean,
was a big
yeah.
fucking deal.
It would be interesting. I don't know if I guess I don't care because like it's like if you're not gonna do the same story, then it's fine. So it's kind of one
They're
of those
not
things
going
where
to
it's
do
like,
the same
yeah,
story. She's way too early in the timeline.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
totally
So,
different. They're probably not going to put her in basically no clothing,
well, she's a lot younger
which
in the trailer, like
if
the character is
if you
younger.
didn't Google Darth Talon, that's why she's probably very popular amongst male comic book readers. She wears
Yeah.
fucking nothing.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be the case here because this character has clothes on and is a lot younger. So I'm going to go with it probably isn't her or it's just based on her. It might be a new character just based on her. The idea is the same, but it's going to be just like we're just using the same thing, right? But that's not it.
That's not it.
There's some more things.
There's more. But wait,
But
there's
wait,
more.
there's more.
In what we thought was going to be a 45-minute episode and
Right.
clearly is not.
So one character that does return that I think we've seen before, I think it was at the end of Clone Wars. There was a character in the Mandalorian arc. She was like an evil Mandalorian girl. Her name is Rook Kast.
Yes.
Okay, so she shows up in the trailer. I had to look up who she was because I was like, evil Mandalorian girl in trailer. That's what I wrote
She's
down.
in Son of Dathomir and in the Clone Wars season 7, and then she fucking disappears.
Okay, well, she got a glow up. She's a bad evil bitch now, and
They're
she's
giving
also
you
in this.
multiple evil women, Bradley.
Yes, I trust me. I stan. And
You're sat
I'm
for the
really,
show.
I'm very sad for this show. More importantly, well, I don't want to call him a legacy character because he's brand new, but Merrick is in the show.
Yep.
I don't know in what capacity, if it's the actual Merrick or you know what I mean? Like, because so far we have not truly gotten any
We
information
know
about the
fuck
real
all about this man.
Merrick, right?
We know fuck all about this man. Why was he in Ahsoka?
So he's in
Why?
this. This is clearly before Ahsoka. Hopefully, it's after Tales of the Empire. I'm maybe like it's like after he gets into the Order or into the Inquisitors because he has his red blade and everything, and so they go head to head in the trailer. And I'm excited to see if we get any backstory of him, or if they're just going to use him as an indefinite Inquisitor number 11 forever, or what is he now? He's like the 11th brother or something,
I don't
officially now.
fucking know.
Anyway, whatever. So that was the animation panel. They brought out Darth Maul himself.
Sam Witwer.
Sam Witwer came out and he's like, play it again. And then they played the trailer again. And then everybody cheered and screamed because
He's
Sam is back
faithfully recreating what Ian McDermott did.
for the, was it Force Awakens? No, it was for the Rise of Skywalker trailer.
Faithfully recreating what Ian McDermott did for the Rise of Skywalker trailer.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. And that was all of day one.
That was all of day one.
We're only on day one.
We're
But
only on day
thankfully,
one.
day 2 and 3 are a lot shorter. So it's not
Day
as bad.
two,
But
yeah, day two had the Andor panel, quote unquote, where they just showed the first episode, talked a little bit, and then showed the first episode.
right, which we did not go to. So we don't have any information on anything that happened. But obviously, we didn't really miss anything because I've seen the first episode now
We
of
made
Andor and we're fine.
we made the conscious decision because they would only let you reserve one seating per day. And we talked about like, does one of us want to try to go to Andor and one of us try to go to Ahsoka? How do we want to play this? And the decision that Bradley and I made as content creators was Andor we're going to find out about in a month anyway. Let's go to Ahsoka and see if they show anything new. Because
Right.
we would rather be in the room for that. And so we both went to the Ahsoka panel.
Correct.
Bradley, do you want to talk about your wonderful experience getting to the Ahsoka panel?
Yeah. So,
In a new section that I would like to call, because no one has suggested a better title to me, Reed Pop sucks in lobster dicks at running this convention. Bradley's going to bleep all that
title.
out. Bradley's going to bleep that whole title out, and you're just going to be left wondering what the fuck I said.
So I woke up, I got to the convention around 7:30. I stood in the celebration line because I was like, oh, because we chose Ahsoka, it's not until the panel is not until 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
I woke up and his bitch ass was already in line.
Already in line
for the
thing.
celebration store.
Correct.
Yes.
And because I was like, I'm gonna get the poster that you wanted, and I was like, let me just see if there's anything else I want, while I'm in here. There was a couple shirts and posters that I was interested in. And I was like, let me just go in there and see. So I got in line, and the doors don't open until 9 o'clock for standby. And just to preface, I did not have Lightning Lane for this whole entire thing because the whole system to get Lightning Lane I didn't quite understand to begin with.
Oh,
and so
the system was
that's why
bullshit. As we're in this section called The Thing that I said earlier, the reservation system for this was terrible. Was genuinely badly handled. That it was confusing. It didn't make sense. They didn't adequately communicate. A big part of the problem I had with ReedPop is they don't communicate things ahead of time well. That they don't do a good job of explaining how things are going to work. So the way the reservations work was you had to essentially, they would get on, they randomly put you in a queue, you grabbed what you wanted. When you got to the front, you logged in, you grabbed what you wanted, and you checked out. It was not a lottery system. It was first come, first serve. In Anaheim, it was a lottery system.
Yeah,
you signed up. It was really easy. You signed up, and they randomly told you. You got an email that randomly told you a couple of days later which panels you got into. For London, they switched it to his first come, first serve thing. So this is also part of why Bradley was in Mando and Grogu, and I was not. Because by the time I got to the front of the line, everything was out for Mando and Grogu. Every single thing was out.
And it was really annoying too because the Lightning Lane for the shopping, the celebration store came out, I think 2 weeks before the panel one came out. So people had to reserve a time to go shopping without knowing when the panels were going to happen. And it's like, you could have theoretically scheduled your shopping time during the panel if you had gotten the panel as well. You know what I mean? So it didn't make a lot of sense. And so Anyway, I just did
The point is,
standby.
Bradley
Yeah.
doesn't get lightning lane because
Right.
this system sucks
So I
ass.
did stand by, unfortunately. And at 9 o'clock, they opened the door and they let in the first group of, 100 people or whatever it is. And they all wait in line inside. And then I finally get in around 9 o'clock or like 9:30 or 40 or 10 o'clock or whenever I get in. And I sit in the line and I keep track. And every hour, I just take another picture. I'm getting closer. I'm getting closer. But the
He's
problem is,
sending me these pictures as he goes, by the way.
right.
I'm gradually watching him get closer and closer.
The problem with that though was it was now 10 o'clock. Now it's 11 o'clock. Ooh, I'm getting close, but it's 12 o'clock. You know what I mean? So I got to the end of the line, like right about to get into the celebration store at like maybe 12:45, maybe, right? Like, so 15 minutes to get in, find everything that I want to shop with, and then get out, right? Well, the problem was I got in the store, found the two posters that I genuinely wanted, the one for you and then the one I was going to get for my friend. And then they were out of the ones that I really wanted, which was Asajj Ventress, obviously.
Which I'm certain that Bradley will find a way to acquire.
Maybe one day I'll just look on eBay. I'm sure somebody's selling it, but
I'm sure somebody will eventually sell it.
for now, I'm not going to pay premium prices. I'm going to wait a little bit until they're sitting on it for a long time, and then they have to force themselves to sell it for a lower price. But we'll see. But anyway, so I got like the two posters. I got like, I think that was pretty much all I could grab at the time, maybe a t-shirt or two. And because the problem was when I was like, okay, I think I have enough. I only have like 5 more minutes and I got to run to Ahsoka. I turn the corner and then there's another line for checkout that's like 50 plus people long. I'm like, oh, fuck me. I am not going to make this Ahsoka panel. And so I had to grapple with the cost, or I had to grapple with the thought of like, should I just stay here? I already waited 5 hours to get into the store. Should I just take my time and shop, or should I like book it? And so I stood in the checkout line because I was like, no, content. And I got
The
in.
sacrifices you make for this show.
Right, the sacrifices. So I got in line, literally like I had maybe 5 minutes to spare as I was checking out. And when I tell you, my feet already hurt from like just in general, trying to run on hurt feet. It was so hard to get to the panel. And thankfully I was on celebration stage for Ahsoka. So it was
You were
across the
right
bridge.
there.
I was
If
right
you had
there.
tried to get to where I was, which was the
No, I would
galaxy
not have made it.
stage, you
I
would
would
not
not
have
have
made
made it.
it.
Nope,
There
I
is
was
no
not gonna make
way.
it. I made it to Ahsoka right as it started, basically. Like I had like maybe a minute to spare. They started maybe 10 minutes later, but like I got in with like minutes to spare. It was funny because they won't remember this because we were both probably panicked at the time, but I ran in the second Star Wars Explained, Molly and Alex were running into the store or into the celebration main stage. And so they probably, and I was like, oh, what brings you guys here kind of thing. But we were so like running panicked. Like I doubt they registered it was me. So shout out to you guys. It was really funny seeing you. And we just had to try to find a place to sit real quick. And we did. I made it. I was like, whew. And then this, because I was so panicked and ran into this panel, it felt like the longest panel of my life because I was like, can you guys just get to the end and play
Get to
the
the fucking
thing?
trailer.
Yeah,
Get
I
to
was
whatever
like,
you're gonna
I was
play.
so
Come
tired
on,
and I was like
guys.
done because they talked about a lot of stuff during this Ahsoka panel.
It was a
I
lot of
mean,
talking because for
yeah,
important context for this panel,
right,
it was less of a like, here's all the stuff that's coming up in season two. And I would say probably 60% of it was looking back at season one.
no, 100%. Yeah, it was mostly
Uh,
that, right?
so they didn't have a lot to show
Right.
right up front. They did like tell a bunch of stuff though. They showed like production photos and things that were in progress.
Right.
But
And yeah,
they
and they
made it
did
clear up front, we haven't even started filming. We
well,
film
I
in a
was gonna say,
week.
yeah, they were like, we're gonna film literally the week after celebration. They're gonna start filming, which is nice, but like, because I think Rosario was like, yeah, literally right after this, I'm gonna get on a plane and like head back to start shooting soon. So I was like, that's really nice. And and they did drop a few nuggets. Like he said, Filoni was like, obviously, Hayden Christensen will be reprising his role as Anakin Skywalker. That's about all he said. Zeb's coming back, obviously. And then, like, I think he dropped Admiral Akbar will return. He'll face off against
Yeah.
Thrawn. That was some kind of cool info that they dropped. So that was interesting. And then I'm looking at my notes to see if there's any other random tidbits before we get to the teaser, what he said. He said, they talked about the Mortis arc and the world between worlds, and they said that'll continue to be important, obviously. And then someone said something about the statues, and I think his quote was, he's like, the son's there, the father's there, most of the daughter is there, so that'll be
Yep.
important.
She's decapitated
Yeah,
because
we don't know
she's
what that
dead.
means, but we'll see.
She dies. She
Right.
dies in the fucking Clone Wars.
Right. It'll just be
And
interesting to see like what that all means, you know what I mean? Or how it affects the story of Ahsoka season 2. But yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see where they go with all this.
also, before any of you chuckle fucks like come to my DMs to talk about it, no, I don't think Abeloth is going to show up. I don't fucking know at this point. I didn't see anything to indicate to me that she was coming. I also didn't see anything to indicate to me that she wasn't coming.
Fair.
So,
Yeah, we don't have any new casting, you know what I mean? Like there's no like other than,
yeah, it was really interesting.
yeah.
They show oh, they did one new casting announcement.
Well, I was gonna say other than the rape replacement, but
Well, no, there was a second one. But yeah, actually that wasn't in
oh.
the teaser. So let's talk about the rape
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
replace. First of all, Dave Filoni like getting choked up on stage when he
He
talked
almost
about
cried. Like he
he
straight
almost
up
cried.
almost cried,
Like
yeah.
it wasn't a performance. Like
No.
I was on the Galaxy stage just watching on the monitor,
Yeah.
and like whatever you think of Dave Filoni as a creator, he was visibly upset talking about the loss of Ray Stevenson.
Yeah, yeah.
That like he was actually starting to cry. Like I thought he was going to cry.
He
I
was welling
thought
up
he was
for
going
sure.
to
Yeah.
derail the panel by breaking down into tears.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just because he was so clearly so visibly upset by this loss. But he did say that like they debated what to do, and they made what in my mind was the correct decision, which was
Agree.
to honor Ray Stevenson's legacy by continuing the plan for the character
Right.
because he was such an important character to Ahsoka's journey. And Dave, I think, made the right call. And it also sets a good precedent for Star Wars going forward. You know, we're going to have a recast in Andor as well because of a scheduling conflict, that other actors can slip into these roles. That as long as they're recognizably the same, like you can kind of tell they're meant to be the same person, that it's fine to have another actor kind of slide into the part. And so they cast Rory McCann,
Right.
who's most famous for being the Hound in Game of Thrones. Then they showed his costume.
Right. They showed a side by side picture of him in the costume.
Holy shit.
He looks good.
He looks great.
I don't think I mean, yeah, you'll notice, but I think it's one of those things where like you'll just notice for like the first episode and then you'll be like, okay, like I'm over it. Like
You'll
you'll
immediately
get over
slot
it.
in, yeah, that's a
Yeah.
different person.
You'll get over it for sure. Very easily.
Yep.
So I'm
So
very excited for that.
no, that looks fucking rad. Yep, he showed some like concept art and things. And then he was like, well, we don't really have anything to show. Here's a concept art reel. And they did it in the vein of like how The Empire Strikes Back did it when they didn't have anything to show,
Right.
which I guess is a way you get around not having anything to show. But they showed a bunch of concept art, which looks absolutely fucking crazy.
Yeah, I only wrote down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things that I
Okay,
could catch
what are the
during the
five
thing.
things that you caught? Because it moves
Right,
by
because
like
it was,
that.
I mean,
It
they
was
showed maybe a millisecond of each concept art. It wasn't even like 5 seconds. Like it was crazy. I wrote down a couple things. The first one I noticed was Night Sisters fighting New Republic soldiers.
yes.
Okay, thought that was really cool. So more Night Sister stuff.
More
Love
Night
that.
Sister stuff is
Loves.
coming. Very
Um,
excited for
Next
that.
one I said was Enoch with some green energy staff fighting New Republic, possibly Night Sister weapon.
Okay.
Interesting. So more Enoch, always a good sign.
More Enoch, he actually has something to do in this
I was gonna
season.
say I hate a glup shido that has nothing to do, so let's give him something to do. Next up, which was the one that got a big reaction in the room, which was Chopper with a machine gun
Yes.
with an
Chopper's
automatic
apparently going
weapon.
to have a bigger role this season. And by
Supposedly,
bigger
yes.
role, we mean bigger gun.
Iconic. That was one thing that really stood out that I thought was really funny. Ahsoka fighting giant machine creature.
Yeah, she fights a giant robot at
Don't know
one
what that
point.
is, what it has to do with
Wild.
anything. Looks
Wild
really
shit.
cool. I just don't know what it is, but very interesting. You know what? The machine looked kind of vaguely like that one Bad Batch episode where they unlock the ancient machine or something.
You're right.
I'm thinking it's the same
Holy
technology or the
shit.
same species
Yeah.
or whatever. Yeah. It's got to be related in some capacity.
They said that
But
she was building up towards a confrontation with Balin.
mhm,
Like that's where the season is building to.
I feel that.
That she
It's
and
going to be
Balin are
interesting.
going to square off.
Yeah, I think that's probably like he's supposed to be the foil to her, and because now really he's the only thing in the same galaxy as her that is a threat. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing else there, so it's like what else can she do,
Yep.
kind of thing. So I'm excited to see that. This one stood out to me the most. This is the last thing that I caught, which was Shin going head to head with Hu Yang with four lightsabers, Grievous style.
I love that this season is just like, okay, we did 7 episodes of setup. Here's the
Sure.
shit you wanted.
Here's what you actually wanted from the Ahsoka show.
Which, I wound up liking the first season well enough after we finished covering
Sure.
it. So I'm really excited for this one. I will add two things from
Okay.
the sizzle reel.
Sure.
There were a lot of shots of Dathomir.
Right.
A lot of shots of battles on Dathomir.
I think so. Yeah, there's
And
gonna
we
be like a
know that
big thing.
Akbar and Thrawn are going to go head to head. Thrawn is going to kick his ass. Thrawn's going to wipe the fucking floor with that fish man. I'm sorry, we all know it's going to happen.
Do we know if he survives up until Force Awakens or not? I don't remember.
Yes, he
Oh, we
dies
do.
in The Last Jedi. Kylo
Oh, he
Ren
does.
kills him when he blows the
Oh,
bridge up.
got it. Okay.
This
Oh,
was
well,
very controversial
that is,
at the
yeah.
time
Oh,
because people who did not understand what the movie was doing were like, why did they kill Admiral Akbar in the movie? They should have had him survive and he should have been the Vice Admiral Holdo role. And I'm like, well, you see, if you watch the movie with the degree of media literacy, you would understand that Holdo, being an entirely new character that we have never seen before, is supposed to lead us to distrust her because Poe, a character that we like from The Force Awakens, distrusts her.
right.
And the twist is she's right and he's wrong, and he fucks everything up by not just doing his job like he is supposed to. And if that had been Admiral Akbar in the role, we would have been primed to like him and trust him. And so that's why he has to die on the bridge so that we can have the. Anyway, the point is, he survives all the way up to The Last Jedi.
Sure.
He's in Force Awakens. He survives up. He dies in The Last Jedi. The other thing I wanted to point out from the sizzle reel is that Zeb is also in this one.
Yes.
So
Zeb
we
is
will
back.
see the entire Ghost crew that is alive
Right.
at this point.
Yeah, I think there's a short screen of I think Hera's also in one of the in the sizzle for
Yeah,
like a hot second, and Ezra for
there
a second.
twice.
But
We see
yeah.
Ezra's in it twice. We see a scene of Ezra and Chopper and Hera hiding on Dathomir.
Oh, that's what that was. Okay, so they are all
It's them
together. I
hiding
I
on
wasn't sure if
Dathomir.
that was Ezra or not with them. Yeah.
It's the three of them
Okay.
are together.
Got it. Okay, that makes
And
sense.
we also see a shot of Ezra and like running across the
Running with like
deck.
taking his jacket off or something. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then when they announce the cast is back, who on the cast is back,
Yeah.
Hera is included. Mary Elizabeth Winstead is back as Hera Syndulla.
Perfect. Cool.
Yes.
I'm excited to see the live Ghost crew come back, you know.
Yes.
You know what
I
we didn't
thought they
really
were.
see. Did we see any of Sabine in that sizzle at all?
Yeah.
I know she's coming obviously back, but I don't know if I saw a lot of her in
Not
that
as
sizzle.
much of her in the sizzle reel.
Yeah, she wasn't really
Uh,
in most of it.
she was named.
Right.
And we also saw one of the miniatures they showed was miniature concept of
Oh, yeah,
Shin
like
and
a
Ahsoka
right.
fighting, or no, Sabine and Ahsoka fighting Shin's Marauder.
Right. That's
So we
right.
did see
There's like
that.
there's going to be some scene where they kind of come and attack her or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Last but not least, day 3.
I
I
was
went
going to
and
say,
stood in the Lego
moving on to
line.
day 3.
I went and stood in the Lego line. So I got some Lego stuff. I also got books. I got the Japanese editions of Into the Dark, Midnight Horizon, and Out of the Shadows from Phase 1 of the High Republic. I got most of them. I wanted to get one of each, and then they told me at the stand, if you buy 4 of that, you get a special gift. So I went back and I got another copy of Into the Dark. So I got 2 copies of Into the Dark.
And your prize was
4 posters.
okay.
4 posters.
Nice.
So I got 2 from Padawan, 2 from the Ahsoka novel,
Nice.
which was nice. So while I was standing in line, waiting to be disappointed in the Lego store for losing out on the hallway, Tantive 4 hallway, which I see it at the store all the time, so I might just buy it just to
Right.
have it. while I was being disappointed, I gave my pass to my boyfriend because he loves anime more than me. So
Right.
it was my boyfriend and Bradley were the ones that were actually in the Visions panel. So tell us about the Visions panel, Bradley, or do you want me to tell you my boyfriend's impression of the Visions panel?
Give me his quick like impression real quick, and
The
then I'll
one
tell you the
thing
actual stuff that
the one thing
happened.
he's gonna say
Yeah.
that you will not say is he was really fucking pissed off at the subtitling.
Yes, it
Not
was
for the
really annoying.
reasons you would think,
Yeah, yeah.
because he, I think, would have been fine if
Sure.
it had just been that one panel that had been subtitled and it was bad. But he came out and he was upset because all the panels were subtitled in Japanese. They were all in
Yes.
English and they were subtitled in Japanese. And he came out and he made, in my mind, the very correct point. He's like, if I were Japanese, I was not an English speaker, and I was in the other panels, I'd be fucking pissed. Because the subtitles were easily 2 minutes behind.
Oh, they
And
for
I
sure were.
get,
Yeah.
I've sat in that booth, right? I have done mock, because
Sure.
Bradley, you and I were in the same major together. I think we were in this class together, actually.
Maybe.
The TV studio production.
I maybe we were in the same one, but I've
I
definitely
think
taken that class.
we
Yeah.
were in that class
Yeah.
together. And I've sat in the booth to try to do the
Yeah,
live
yeah, yeah.
captions. I know it's hard,
Sure.
but it was like 2 solid minutes behind.
It was really
And
bad.
he
Well, and
said,
that's why, like, when I was writing down my notes for it, I was like, I couldn't really pay attention to the subtitles and what they were actually saying because I had to take the pictures of like the things that were on screen, so I had the information so we could talk about it, but I couldn't listen to the explanation of what we were seeing. So like I couldn't like read and take pictures, and it was like
and
so
I
frustrating.
I pointed out to him, I was like, yeah, no, I was watching where they would show the titles of things in the Ahsoka panel, and I was like, yeah, that
Yeah,
was a solid 2 minutes behind. So I feel really bad for the Japanese audience who
right.
went to those panels if they don't speak very good English, because they were really getting like a subpar experience with those
Well,
captions. I don't know
yeah,
how Lucasfilm or Reed Pop or whoever needs to do those captions in the future when it's in a
right.
foreign country, but however you were doing it, not like that.
I
Whatever
mean, I
you were
guess it
doing,
it
fix
balanced
the
out because
process.
like it was mostly in Japanese anyway, so I guess like they got to experience a
Yeah, the
panel
Visions
fully in
panel
right,
was
exactly.
fully in Japanese.
Yeah. So, I mean, there was the one guy who spoke English, but that was about it. And then it was really interesting. So, obviously, they talked about Vision season 3 coming up. They showed all the different studios that are going to be working on the show.
It's
There's
all
one, two,
anime
three,
studios
four,
again.
five, six, seven, eight. There's 8 different studios.
Is
And
Trigger back? This is the question everyone wants to know. Is
yes,
Trigger back?
Trigger is back as one of
We're
them.
so back. We are the
And
winners.
so
My
they,
boyfriend
so
fucking loves when Trigger does Star Wars.
Well, I can when I get to the trigger one, I'll tell you what it is. But they started off with the returning, right? So they said there's going to be 3 stories returning. So 3 people are
Yes.
coming back. So we have Kamikaze Duga doing the duel. They're coming back to tell another the duel story.
Another dual story. Let's
Hmm.
go. And I know a lot of people, I have to say up front here,
Yeah,
I know a lot of people are like, oh, they've spun out the duel into so many different things. By this
sure.
point, we have the Ronin novel, we have the comics, particularly the Ronin novel. People are like, please don't overwrite the Ronin novel, etc., etc. I'm like, y'all need to understand that there's a much looser definition of canon working here.
Right. This is just like anything goes, honestly.
This is
Like, yeah,
anything
yeah.
goes.
If
The
anything, they'll probably
comics are
do the
different.
book.
The
I
comics are
mean,
different than the comics
yeah.
are different than the book, which is different than the short's going to be like. It's not all going to be coherent. You just have to live with it.
So, starting with the duel, the new episode is called The Duel Payback. They showed 2 little teaser like images from that. There's going to be a new Wookiee character. There's going to be a new, what do they call Anzellan?
And Zellens,
Driving a mouse droid. I think it's an Anzellan. I'm pretty sure. So we'll see. I think that's what it is. But I haven't looked at the English translation picture yet, if it says Anzellan anywhere, but it just has their names and I can't really read them.
can
So
you hold it up to the screen?
yeah, here I can just show you. Oh, here's the Japanese picture just so you can kind of see what it looks. Oh, nope.
Nope.
Nope, green screen didn't let me do it.
Nope.
I'll put it in when I do the YouTube version of this, I'll put it in the
Okay.
I'll put all my pictures as like the thing that shows up on the screen. So if you
Perfect.
want to see all
If you
the
want to see the
pictures that I took,
pictures that
right,
I'm not seeing,
right.
and we've been having severe technical difficulties, so I'm not going to risk Googling it right now.
Right. So Wookiee character and Zellan character looks really cool. New Prey Mantis alien character, straight up just a Prey Mantis. It just yeah, it says giant alien mantis seen in the cantina in episode 4. So it's just gonna be a background character, but it's just randomly they showed it. There's also an Imperial Walker with like a town on top of it, or like a house or a hut or something. Oh, it says Hot Springs building. So there's a Hot Springs building on top of a
That
walker.
is rad as hell.
That's going to be interesting. Then next up, we have The Village Bride, new episode called The Lost Ones. And in it, we have a new picture, or they showed us a new character of a gender ambiguous because the host literally asked the director, "Is this a man or a woman?" And he's like, "I can't tell you." He's like, I can't say. And so I was like, that's weird to not say, but okay, sure, whatever. So they
Okay.
love their, androgynous characters in The Village Bride, right?
Hmm.
So this new character is an Imperial with white hair and red eyes, and they are gorgeous. So who knows what this person is? I don't know, but this is a villain.
I support whatever it is they're doing.
The villain is going
I'm
to be great. I can
The
already tell
villain's
you.
gonna be great.
And then next up, we have the Ninth Jedi called the Ninth Jedi Child of Hope. And in this one, we just get a couple just screenshots of it, nothing new that we know. No new information. But our character from the Ninth Jedi is returning, and she's still the main character.
Excellent.
Next up, we have the new stuff. So we have something called Yuko's Treasure. This is kind of the more cutesy animation one. This one is featuring a new bear character called Billy. They show like a little, I can't tell if it's a little boy or a little girl is the main character, but then there's like a bear character and he is adorable. It's very in the vein of Totoro. Like it's the same thing. Like it's gonna be like
Okay.
he's a big giant teddy bear looking motherfucker who is hilarious and adorable and doesn't talk very much. I think he's a droid because he has a microwave in his stomach. So I don't know, but he looks like a bear. I can't explain it. You'll just have to look at the photos later. But he's very cutesy. People are gonna love this fucking bear. I'm telling you right now. Billy the bear.
Billy the Bear.
Next up, the one I'm kind of more excited for is a one called The Smuggler, where
Okay.
it's kind of like a team of smugglers.
Who's doing the smuggler?
They didn't say, or at least I didn't catch who was doing it. They just had like the title and then the thing. So I don't know. They probably said it beforehand. I just wasn't paying attention. But I'll go back and when we do it eventually, we'll obviously give them the credit they deserve.
We
But
will cover all of these eventually for me
the new character for
personally.
the smuggler, she's really cool looking. She's like they said that she was kind of like a Han Solo-esque character, but of course she has pink anime hair, so it's gonna be great. And she's very short standing next to all the other characters, so I'm excited to see where that goes. There's some kind of dirge looking bounty hunter guy, so I'm
Okay.
curious how that's gonna go down. Then next up we have the bounty hunters, which is kind of like they showed the main character is this one girl who kind of looks like she has like some kind of cybernetic implant in her eye that lets her see stuff on her vision or whatever. And
That
then
sounds weird.
she has like a robot sidekick who has like wheels for feet. So it's like that transforms. And in the
Is
teaser
this the
trailer, you kind of
trigger
see it.
one?
I think this is because this one is like
You know what?
really
I'm just gonna use
random
my
out there.
phone.
It might be. What did Trigger do the first time?
The duel and I think the Sith.
This is whoever did the Elder.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the Elder.
Okay, then yes. It's
I
the same
think this
animation
is
as the
trigger.
Elder. It's very
Visions
similar. Uh,
season
Yeah.
3.
So that they look really cool. How that's gonna work out, I don't know, but it looks really interesting for sure. Yeah, the main character's got like a mask on covering her mouth, and then like the new robot's called IVA4. Yeah, and it just says backpack extends into forearms,
Okay.
body design. These are just
No,
all the stuff.
actually, we are incorrect.
Oh,
Yuko's Treasure is Kinema Citrus again, who are the same
okay.
people that are doing the Lost Ones, so the Village Bride sequel.
Okay.
Trigger is making The Smuggler. They were the ones who did definitely the twins, and I think the Elder from season. Let's find out. They did the twins and the Elder from
Okay, that
season
makes sense then.
one.
Okay.
The Bounty Hunters is Wit Studio.
Oh, so that's a new one. Okay.
That's a new one,
So
as
that's
far
new.
as I'm aware.
Okay, got it. And then the next one is called The Song of Four Wings. And that one has like these two kind of like this one new character. I can't explain it. She's very, first of all, I want to say that all the stories seem to have the main character is a woman, by the way, or
Nice.
or non-binary. So like very
Nice.
interesting. This is going to be a win season for sure. This new character, she's very interesting looking. She has a very interesting looking R2 unit droid as like her companion. And then not to spoil anything, but in the teaser, she uses the R2 unit as a mech suit. Like it like comes apart and turns into some kind of mech suit.
That is
So
sick.
it's going to be an interesting story for sure. And then I think that's the one. I don't know the name of the one who does that one, but they were the
I
ones
do. It's
who.
directly in front of me. It's Project Studio Q, who does
Okay, so
the Song of the Four Winds.
that one's gonna be really interesting because they said in that during that panel that their thing that they're really good at is mechanical like animation, like big robots and like mechanical fights and stuff like that. So this is gonna be very like Gundam like esque
Sick as
if you know what
shit.
that is. Yeah. So that's gonna be interesting. The next one, this one was really weird because when they showed the image, I was like, that's doesn't show us anything, which is weird. So it's called Bird of Paradise. And then you can tell us who the studio is.
I will. It is Polygon Pictures is the
Okay.
studio behind it. It is most notable per Wikipedia for, quote, the studio took part in the production of the television series Star Wars The Clone Wars
Oh,
between 2011 and 2013 and Star Wars Resistance between 2018 and 2020. So
okay,
the
interesting.
studio has worked with Lucasfilm before on some of their flagship animation.
Okay. So this is the weird one, right? So they said Bird of Paradise, and then literally the artwork that they showed was a literal Bird of Paradise plant, and I was like, that's nothing. I was like, that's just a plant. And then they showed the character. She looks really cool. Like she's very like she's got like feathers in her hair. It's like it's a very interesting character. And then what's really crazy is that they switched over to something called Dark Side version. And so it's the same exact character, but her skin is gray and she has like these light up tattoos and like looks sick as fuck. I don't know where it's going. But then they randomly during that they decided to play like a teaser of it of just that episode. So I got to see
Okay.
the actual animation and I wrote down like what it was. So we got a quick clip of it and I don't know if this will make sense to a lot of people, but I akin it to Fire Emblem like cinematic animation. Do you know what that is?
Yes, I've played Fire Emblem before.
Okay, so that's exactly what the animation looks like. It looks like that, like the
Okay.
cinematics from that, right? Because I only know that from Smash, but like I just know that like that's just what it looks like. Like I don't know, it was really interesting. So they showed a sizzle for that. Then the next episode is the one that they've been toting. I think they've been talking about is called Black, and that's the very colorful Stormtrooper one.
Yeah, that's by David Production.
Yes. So
Is
that
who
one
does.
they've been kind of toting around as like a thing they want to like experience one. They showed a quick sizzle from that. That one's going to be fucking weird. I'm telling you right now. That's going to be a weird one and I'm excited. I think they're zombies. I think they're death troopers or whatever or like they're zombie troopers or something because it's just fucking weird. Like they look really weird. Anyway, that was crazy. So at the end of this whole entire thing, right? They were like, okay, here we have three announcements for Visions.
Okay.
So announcement number one is that it releases on October 29th, 2025. That was the first announcement.
Nice.
Then they were like, hey, here's the second thing. Here's a sizzle reel, right? Like here's all of the episodes, and then we watched it.
Which
And there
I
was
have seen
you've
a
seen it, right?
leaked version of it and it looks
Okay.
sick as shit.
It does look sick as shit. So that was really cool. And then they were like, wait a minute, you said three things. What's the third thing? And they were like, well, how many of you liked The Ninth Jedi? And everybody was like, yeah. And then they like, we're starting a new thing called Star Wars Visions Presents. And they are doing a full series for The Ninth Jedi coming in 2026.
We're so back. We're so
And I thought
back.
that was the
We
coolest thing.
won so hard.
Because what did we say when we covered Vision season one? We said,
This is a
how do we
fucking
want this one
pilot.
to continue?
This is a fucking
It's a
pilot.
fucking
We
pilot.
need to see it continue in some form. I need to know what happens next in this story.
So I'm very excited to have seen the fact that, or like that they've announced that it's going to be a full series, but what
Here we
they
go.
implied is that it is the first of full series because it's called Star Wars Visions Presents. So that means somewhere down the line, one of these other shows may get a full series as well. Full Star Wars anime series. That's crazy.
I love this so much. I'm so happy with this.
So amazing. I love long form visions. Like that's my biggest complaint with Vision is that it's not long enough or like we don't get a long enough thing, right? And it's always like I want a little bit longer because I can't appreciate the animation or I can't appreciate the story.
Some of the shorts work really well as shorts, but yes, there's definitely some of them where I was like, I need to see more of this. Ninth Jedi, probably the biggest offender of the
Right, exactly.
you didn't finish the story.
Yeah, you didn't show us the rest of the thing. You only
Show me
gave
the
us the
rest of the
first five
story.
minutes.
Well, they're
Yeah,
now going to show us the rest of the story, which is
I'm
I'm
very
so
excited.
excited. Yeah, so just to round it up, what we've got coming out, we've got Andor's coming out right now.
Hmm.
And then we've got Star Wars Vision Season 3 in October.
Yep.
That'll be nice. And then Maul Shadow Lord and the Mandalorian and Grogu in 2026. So probably Mandalorian and Grogu early. I think they announced the release date was May
5/22.
so May 22nd. So Maul Shadow Lord will probably be more towards
Later in the year for sure. Yeah.
August, September, and then
Hmm.
Starfighter in 2027 and Ahsoka probably in 2027 as well.
I
But
agree.
that's not the only thing happening in 2027, Bradley, because that all just tides us over
Right.
to 2027. What else is happening in 2027?
Well, if you stuck around to the end of Celebration, they
Which I
decide,
didn't. I
which we
was at
did not.
Tokyo Disney Sea when
No,
this
we
was
said,
announced.
fuck this, I'm getting
I
out
was
of
like,
here.
fuck this, I'm out.
Yeah, no. But we got the announcement. I saw it on the live stream, but it will be that Star Wars Celebration will return in 2027 in Los Angeles, California.
I'm the winner.
You don't even have to leave your house. You
I
can
don't
just
have to
walk
leave
out the door and just
shit.
love that for you.
I, in my wildest dreams for 2027, could not have anticipated. So I was between Chicago and Anaheim. I did not want it to be Orlando because I have this don't travel to Florida unless it's an absolute emergency.
Sure, 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 sure.
So in July of last year, when my grandfather decided to die while I was in Denver, well, he didn't decide to die, but he did die while I was in Denver, and I had to
Sure.
rebook my whole flight to
Right.
go down to the funeral, to go down to the burial. I didn't go to the funeral, I went to the burial.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That was an emergency situation where I needed to go to Florida. But
Sure.
I have this sort of, I weigh up very seriously whether or not something is worth going to Florida at this point. Because I really don't want to, but the family I still talk to is all in Florida. And so I was like, please don't be Orlando. Please don't be Orlando. I was hoping for either Chicago because I used to live in Springfield, Illinois. I went to middle and high school there. So I was hoping for Chicago because then I would fly out and then I would take a couple of days to go down to my old home, my old stomping grounds. Or Anaheim because I would have to drive. I would get to sleep in my own bed. I would have to drive 2 hours to get there, but I would be able to sleep in my own bed. Never in my wildest dreams did I imagine they would go, it is going to be 40 minutes away from your house. I love that for me.
Yeah, for you, it's
I'm the
great.
winner. For me, it's great.
No, it's I'm glad it's in California.
Bradley in
Yeah,
Atlanta, if you're still in Atlanta in 2027,
right. We'll
is
see.
not
Yeah.
having a good time.
Yeah, we'll see. It depends. I'm excited that it's in there. I'm glad it's in 2027. I'm glad it's not like
The
next
50th
year and I don't
anniversary.
have time to prepare. Like at
We
least I have
were
time
we
to
were
prepare.
really concerned. I was really concerned about that. Is
Yeah.
that they were
I'm
going to
glad they're
announce one in
not because
2026
honestly, well, one, what the fuck would they even talk about?
show. I think that's why they didn't.
They
Because you
have to.
notice
Yeah,
everything they announced in Celebration 2025 is coming out in 2026 or 2027.
exactly.
And we will get announcements at D23. We will
Sure.
get announcements randomly dropped on the internet
Right. All
for
the
no
movies we'll
reason.
get updates for in the next
We'll
two
get
years for
updates,
sure. Yeah.
but it's very clear that 2027 they'll show a final trailer for Starfighter. They'll show
Right.
something
Yeah,
for the
yeah,
movie
yeah.
that's going to come out in 2028. They're going to announce the next 2 years worth of series. So
Yeah. Because I guess
I'm
Starfighter will come
very
out
happy.
right during Celebration, pretty much.
Hmm.
For the most part. I mean, they said 5/28, 2027. So a little after Celebration, but
The
it'll
celebration will probably be in April.
right.
It's
So they're
usually in
gonna do
April.
it, but a month before the movie comes out, which is gonna be hype. People are gonna be like, they're gonna be pushing that. It'll be the
Hmm.
Star Wars Starfighter celebration. I'm telling you right now. It's
It's gonna
gonna be
be. I'm very happy for me personally. I understand there's people who are not going to want to make the flight. There's
right.
going to be people for whom that's going to be very expensive. Downtown LA sucks.
I was gonna say
Like
that's
that
a
is a
weird
downside of
choice. Yeah,
this. Like when we're talking about the downsides of this, where else was it gonna be? It's the 50th
I
anniversary.
know. It's
It
got
was
to be
gonna
in
be in
California.
LA. It's
Yeah.
gotta be in California.
I'm surprised it wasn't Anaheim, but it.
I'm surprised it wasn't San Francisco
Oh, interesting. Why San Francisco?
because that's where Skywalker Ranch is.
Oh, well, I always look at things through the lens of put it next to a Disney park so we make extra money on the side. Like,
I
but
think you're probably right. Well, London they didn't.
well, yeah, but that's because London doesn't have one. But like Tokyo has one,
Tokyo
Anaheim
has
has
one. We
one.
went.
Like,
Well, not
I'm
together,
surprised.
but we
Yeah,
both went.
sure. And I mean, shit, like do a Celebration Paris. There's Disneyland
Please
Paris.
don't do a
So
celebration. No, I'm begging you, Lucasfilm.
no, don't do
Listen,
that.
listen.
Don't do that. Please don't.
Don't do a celebration, Paris.
Can we just keep
My
it in the
boyfriend
US for a
will
few
be
more times?
insufferable.
Yeah.
Like they just did. Well, that was another thing that people were surprised that it was a U.S. domestic thing, and I'm like, we just did two international celebrations.
Yeah, I think I'm ready for it to be at in
It
home
needs
for a while.
it
Yeah.
needs to be domestic. It's an American-based company.
And yeah,
I know it's internationally popular. They were always going to bring it back to the States at least for a minute
right.
and then do something else abroad. Please don't do Paris. I'm begging you.
Yeah, that's the only other Disney I could think of other than
My
Shanghai, but
boyfriend
they probably wouldn't do that.
speaks conversational French.
So he would be
He has
annoying.
visited France
So
multiple times. He will be so
so let's not go to
annoying
France.
if it goes to
Um
France. I love him. I love him a lot.
yeah,
And these are things that I would say directly to his face. So I'm not just shit talking him on the pod.
right.
For my sake, please don't send it to France.
So final thoughts on Celebration.
It was a celebration. My positives were I enjoyed getting to see people. It was really cool getting to see people like Andy and Ash and Hayden, all like
Right.
people that I communicate with online. It's always very cool to see people in person. I wish it had been more people, but I understand that a lot of people backed out of Tokyo, especially with the economy the way
Oh
it is
yeah,
right
for
now.
sure.
I definitely understand people who were like, I'm not about this flight. But I was really, really grateful to see the people, that I got to see. And of course, getting to hang out with you, getting to hang out with my boyfriend in Tokyo was a really awesome experience. Panels were surprisingly like better than I thought they were going to be. I now kind of wish I'd gone to the Mandalorian and Grogu one, but that one I didn't have a choice.
Right.
I couldn't get tickets in at all. Really wish they'd given us a press pass and I could have just gone to all of them, but
That's my one complaint. I was like, if we had a press pass of some kind, we could have gone to every panel and not it wouldn't have been an issue.
they
And
were
they had special seating for
stingy
those
about
people.
them this year.
I
They
think it's
were
because it was
real.
Tokyo.
I think they're going to be less stingy
Yeah,
about
I
them.
was
I'm
gonna say
hoping they'll be
hopefully we
less
can
stingy
apply
about them
for
in
it
LA.
next year so that it's a lot more like, okay, well, it's California. We'll just let anybody in kind of thing. Like
Yeah, we'll also been doing the show for like 6 years at that
another two
point.
years. Yeah, so then they'll have to.
Yeah, it's a crazy amount of time we've been doing this
Yeah,
show.
because once we start
I
doing
think we
Andor,
can
they're
make a
not gonna be
good
able to
case.
ignore us.
We're gonna try to get a press pass, but
Yeah.
the panels were not as bad as I thought they were going to be. I got some swag, which was nice. Definitely, my main downsides were Repop's handling
Yeah.
of the convention. It was once again very poorly run. It's consistently very poorly run. I don't know. I don't think it's specifically a Repop thing. To Repop's credit, they paid their volunteers. I found this out, which is actually very cool.
Yeah.
So all those people that were standing out there in the heat directing traffic, they were getting paid to do that. They hire local,
Sure.
which I do appreciate. They hire local and they actually pay money, which is cool. But overall, Repop's handling, I did not enjoy. And I think that my Home One Lego set that I got was very cool. That was my assessment. Bradley, what were your final thoughts on Star Wars Celebration 2025, your first ever Star Wars celebration?
I thought it was very overwhelming. It was in a good way. It was a lot of fun. I thought there was a lot to do, there was a lot to see. I thought that when they announced the panels, I thought, well, there's only four panels technically, right? The main panels, the four main panels. I thought, that's not a lot. Like it's gonna be really boring. And I thought, oh, well, that's weird. But then when I got there, I realized that like no, you want it to be like this because otherwise you're standing in
Right.
line and you know what I mean? Like it's line con if you're not. So doing a panel. So I was like, wow, I don't know if they could do more than this. Honestly, I was like, this is crazy. So I can't imagine what like doing a Starfighter panel and a Shadow Lord panel next time and like, all the Ahsoka 2 panel next time. Like I just it's gonna be a lot. Like I just can already tell that they're gonna have all these things and it's gonna be a lot. I mean I can already tell you those are the three main panels next time for sure. If they don't already have something else by then.
I do want to add one more criticism on one more, I don't want to say criticism, one more thing that I did not enjoy because
Sure,
I
what?
understand why they did this
Okay.
and I probably would have made the same decision. So I'm not going to call it a criticism, but it was one thing that I was disappointed in. Anaheim had a lot of very robust fan panels, and it was because they had three fan panel rooms.
Wow, okay.
So they had a lot of fan panels. I attended a lot of panels in Anaheim when I was there for 4 days.
That's what I'm saying. Like I don't think there was any panels to quite go to, or at least I didn't see any I was very
You didn't
interested
go to
in.
any.
Yeah,
I only went to Ash's Mon Mothma panel.
right.
These are the only panels I went to. And it wasn't for lack of time.
Right.
It wasn't that I didn't have moments where I could have gone. My boyfriend, once again, he's very observant. He's
Sure.
very observant and he's very clever. And this is part of the reason that I love him, is that he is a very clever person. He pointed out to me, he said that one of the downsides of the con was that at a lot of conventions, the fan panels are the panel you go to sit down. If
Okay.
you've been out and walking around the exhibition hall and you need a seat to sit down in,
Yes.
you pick a fan panel
Right.
and you go to that.
To relax,
It's not a
basically.
main panel that you're jockeying to get into. It's
No.
not
Yeah,
line
yeah.
con. There's almost never a line for them. And having only one fan space kind of made that a problem because it was over by Galaxy Stage. It was like in that middle hall. There was the one, and it wasn't getting that traction that you would normally get of people who were coming in and sitting down. And so I was a little disappointed by just the lack of fan panel space and also by extension the lack of offerings. I'm sure the others that I didn't attend were good. I walked by it a couple of times and everyone I walked by seemed like they were having fun, but I went out and saw the city instead. Whereas at Anaheim,
Yeah,
I probably would have seen more.
right. I
Uh,
felt like I felt like I didn't want to be at the convention longer than the main panel. Like I was like there,
and to
I
shop.
walked around and shop. Yeah,
We
and that was
shopped.
it. And then I was like,
There
once I was done
wasn't much
shopping,
to
I was like, okay,
do other than those things.
yeah,
Because, like,
I was kind of
comparatively,
over
when
it.
I went to Fan Expo had, like, I know it's a bigger convention, but it had many panel rooms going at any given time.
Simultaneously. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Dragon Con that we went together,
Exactly.
there
Yeah,
was a
yeah, yeah.
lot of tracks all going on simultaneously. And even in Anaheim, there were a lot of tracks going on simultaneously. You had multiple fan panels. Publishing kind of had its own thing. Some of the other stuff kind of had their own things. Conversations with authors had their own thing. It was a little better structured, in my opinion, than this one. So I'm really excited for you to go to LA because I feel like there's going to be more of that,
Right,
like more of those offerings. Japan was a lot of shopping and line con and the
right.
main panels.
Yeah, I'm hoping that there's more fan stuff.
You
Hey,
will see
maybe
much more fan stuff.
maybe there's a live taping of Gold Squadron Gaze
Maybe
panel.
maybe Gold Squadron Gaze.
If we can finagle
Maybe
that somehow.
maybe you will be able to attend Gold Squadron Gaze live at the fan panel.
Because that would have been
To
one of the things I was like missing. I was like, I only saw on the schedule there was only one podcast that was doing something,
Mhm.
and I've never heard of them before. And I was like, that's weird. Like, I would have liked to have like a whole entire like room dedicated to just podcasters to do a live, like
That's what
different
they
things.
did at Anaheim.
Because then I could meet new podcaster people and then like network and you know
Mhm.
what I mean, like that kind of stuff. Like, I feel
That's
like we
I
didn't get
would
that
love to
chance.
have attended
Yeah,
like more. I think a lot of it too that boils down to this has turned into a tangent.
yeah,
So
we're
I'm
gonna
going
have
to
to
move it
wrap it
toward
up.
the
But
ending.
yeah, yeah,
But one thing I will say is I do think it was that the international travel barrier
I think so. Yeah,
prevented a lot of people who would have applied for that fan panel
sure.
to do it. And I do think that was to its detriment that they didn't really have the space, and I don't really think they had the applications
Right.
just because a lot of the fan panels were in English. They should have had more Japanese fan panels,
Sure. Well,
actually,
I'm sure
honestly.
more people, local people would have gone to those for sure if that had been the case.
Mhm.
And honestly, if you have more panels, that's less people on the show floor, less, you know what I mean? Like, so there's a little bit less like squishedness, you know what I mean? That was the problem, I think.
My final
Okay.
note, and this is what I'm going to end on, is shout out to all the Mon Mothma cosplayers, but very specifically the gentleman who sat 3 seats down from me at the
Okay.
Mon Mothma panel, who was basically doing a Mon Mothma Chancellor Disney bound.
Okay.
Like he wasn't cosplaying, but he had perfectly matched the teal like vest that she wears
Right.
in Ahsoka, and he had gotten like a cardigan that was that exact color and was otherwise wearing white and had the necklace with the New Republic symbol on it. That
Interesting.
was like a note perfect Mon Mothma like Disney bound outfit. Shout out to that guy.
Yeah.
Your outfit ruled, and I wish I'd gotten a photo with you. That was fucking awesome. So next week we're doing one more thing before Andor. We're gonna kind of let Andor play out a little
Okay.
bit because I think Bradley, you and I decided very much after we watched those first 3 episodes, like we kind of need to at least sort of know where this is going.
Yeah, I think the my only thing is that like I guess because they're gonna be separate things, it might be easier. Like I don't know. We'll have to see where it's going in the full thing, but I think in terms of just covering the episodes, yeah, we needed to do them separately and
We
like
need to do them
treat them as
separately,
like
and
a mini movie basically.
we also needed one more week because I kind
Right.
of want to see the second block
Sure,
for
yeah, just to see
sure
what's happening. Yeah, 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 yeah.
before I really start talking about first block of episodes.
Right.
So the compromise we made, rather than wait an entire month to do Andor,
Right.
was we're going to do one more episode of something else
Okay, great.
prior to diving in, and then we will dive Andor. If you go back and listen to our Andor Zero, you will hear us be very wrong about Andor,
Sure.
which is always the fun part.
Yeah, we
Uh,
love when we're wrong.
and then we will dive into Andor.
Sure.
Andor.
Over the
We will
next couple
also
of
have
weeks.
special announcements coming up, so definitely keep an eye out for that. And Bradley, I don't think we have anything else before pluggables.
Nope.
All right, so pluggables. You can watch a whole bunch of reality TV that Bradley has worked on in his life, including such shows as Married to Medicine, Queen's Court, The Circle on Netflix, and Temptation Island, which I will be getting back to now that I am back. So get ready for update on Temptation Island. We left on a cliffhanger. We decided not to do it right before I went to Japan out of an abundance of caution, but
Okay.
we're going to be back for more Temptation Island hot takes.
Loved it. Love to hear it.
You can also find me on the Star Wars TTRPG podcast For Light and Dice. That is an actual play TTRPG podcast. It is on hiatus at the moment for a month or two, just because a lot of us had other things we were doing. So it is on a little bit of a hiatus, but we will be back soon. As previously mentioned in this episode, if Bradley didn't cut it out, I write a series of gay thriller mystery novels. That series is chugging along now that I am back from Japan. Beach House Studios, which is the first book, just left Amazon exclusivity. So right now at time of recording, you can only buy it on Amazon.com. That is because I physically have not had the time to go in and upload it to other booksellers. So you'll be able to find it on other booksellers. I will keep people updated. The second book, Beach House Studios' Second Shoot, that leaves on the 29th. So on the 29th or the 30th, Tuesday or Wednesday after this episode comes out, that book will be off Amazon exclusivity, will be also coming to other platforms. Amazon is bullshit. And so the third book, I just approved the cover art yesterday. So it's getting the typography, and as soon as it has the typography, we will have a release date. That will be stuck in Amazon jail for 3 months. Every subsequent book will be a wide release. There will no longer be an Amazon exclusivity.
Love to hear.
And I can also say, since this episode is long anyway, fun update for those of you who might read the series. Right before we left for Japan, and I mean like the day before or 2 days prior, I finished writing book 5.
Oh, nice.
So the series, the mainline series, is done.
Love it.
It is written. I still have to edit it.
Sure.
And book 5 is a Bradley. I'm so sorry about book 5. It's 135,000 words.
Okay.
it's a doorstopper of a finale, but I'm like, I am not splitting this bitch.
I'm gonna have to like upload it to like Fiverr or something or whatever those websites are where you can like make people do stuff for you and then you pay them
I'll
and I'll
record
make them make
an audiobook
audiobooks. Yeah, I'll
just
make
for
them
you.
record an audiobook for me. I'll be like,
Just
here,
for
record this
you
as an
to
audiobook.
read the finale.
I'll pay a random person to do it. I'll be like, here you go, just make this into an
I'll
audiobook.
pay a random person to do it. Well, I will say that I have been looking into audiobook versions
Yeah.
of the series, and there's things you can do. There's like royalty sharing programs and things that you can actually do if you want to work with a narrator. So you can use a human narrator for these things.
Oh,
which, yeah, I'm doing some preliminary research because I get
sure.
two questions. The two biggest questions I get are, when are you doing a physical edition? When all the books are out, because we're going to have to redo some of the covers.
Right.
And number two, when are you doing an audiobook? When I can figure out how to do an audiobook. Those are the answers.
Love
So definitely check those out if you want to give me money so that I can spend more time making this podcast and less time working at my day job. All right, well, that was definitely more than 45 minutes.
Unfortunately, I hope to edit this down, but it's going to be about an hour.
Bradley, we have now gone over 2 hours past when I wanted to be done recording. I need to eat lunch. Please run the socials. Thank you for listening to Gold Squadron Gaze. Did Charles fuck something up? Email us at goldsquadrongaze@gmail.com and let us know. You can follow us on BlueSky, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Gold Squadron Gaze. Subscribe to us on YouTube at Gold Squadron Gaze, where we post full episodes of this podcast. If you like the podcast, you can also rate us and review us on your favorite podcast app of choice. Please join us next week and every week for another episode of Gold Squadron Gaze. Some of you would not have survived Full Metal Alchemist, is what I'm saying. I am eternally blessed, because my favorite anime of all time, Monster, was a completely faithful adaptation of the manga and only cut stuff out to rearrange it. And so I was blessed with 74 episodes, completely telling the story of the manga in its entirety. I was lucky for 2005. Some of you would not have survived the Orion High School Host Club days.